Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fight Rundown, a new series here on the channel where we will be doing deep dives into the history of some of the most legendary MMA and boxing fights. Harry, what have we got today? What's the first ever episode?
Today, the first episode of the series is going to be Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte. Now, of course, in these series, we're going to be deep diving into the history. And this fight in particular has a lot of history behind it. That's why it made it so brilliant on the night. It wasn't only just a great fight, it had the backstory to it as well. And yeah, I mean, first of all, before we start, Jeeve, how are we?
Very good, very good. It was it's been an exciting time to start this new series, of course. And we're just coming off a break, actually.
Yeah,
always
a little
nice.
break, yeah. Like I say, I've been quite looking forward to filming again, you know, today. So
for sure, that's why you got to check out all of our stuff if you want to watch more here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
yeah,
But let's go back to a time of 12th of December 2015. A young Harry Bowles, a young Jeevan Singh. Where was we, Harry, when this fight was in the build-up? Was you boxing at this point in your life?
no, I wasn't. I think this was before that.
Right.
So it actually came up on my Facebook the other day that my first bout was 6 years ago.
Right.
So
Is that
it would have been, yeah, I know. It would have been, I would have probably been into boxing maybe like, I don't know, like 2 years before that or something.
Yeah.
I don't really know. But yeah, so it's just, I think it was just before I started going. I think I knew who Anthony Joshua was, obviously. I think most people did.
Yeah.
But I wasn't quite in the know at that time.
Yeah, 100%. This, as for myself, I'd watched quite a bit of Anthony Joshua. I saw the Wembley fight he had on the undercard. Then you had is it Gary McDonald?
Gary Cornish.
Gary Cornish, that's it, yeah.
And they both boxed on that card
Yeah.
together.
It, yeah.
And they both got the knockout. So
So yeah, and then this one came around, and I remember speaking to my neighbour at the time, so excited for it. Mum and Dad went out. I was only like 13 here, but all I could think about was, how do I get my hands on this show? Did I have the money to buy the pay-per-view? No. Was Dad going to buy it because he wasn't there? No. So the Dodgy Box came out. Well, the Dodgy Stream came out. Our neighbour sent us a Dodgy Stream. Shout out, Dave. You know, came to
shout out to Dave.
So I watched all the build-up. I watched it in IT at school. I was so excited for it. We'll start off with The Gloves Are Off. It started off with Joshua and Dillian Whyte sitting down, and a very angry Dillian Whyte and a very relaxed, calm Anthony Joshua. I'll just go into a bit of the history, if that's cool. So at the time, both of them undefeated. Both of them looking for a big win in their career. Dillian Whyte, being a father at 13, lived in Jamaica and moved over. A fantastic amateur. Anthony Joshua, of course, was someone who came into the game young. Came into the game as a bit of a young prospect, but didn't start boxing that early. Someone was on the roads a lot and was into a bit of the old drug dealing. No, I know that's such a Joshua thing to say, isn't it? As for Dillian Whyte, he came over and he started kickboxing, had major success in kickboxing, so ended up moving from there into the boxing world, where his coach said, "You just are born for this." And during that journey, he did beat Anthony Joshua in a schoolboys tournament.
In his first amateur fight as
it
well.
It was, yeah.
See, AJ, I think at the time was 4-0.
It was.
Or is it? Oh, either it was his fourth fight, or he was 4-0.
Yeah, he was 3-0 going into his fourth.
And obviously all knockouts. And Dillian just said, "I'll fight this guy." Nobody obviously wanted to fight AJ, I can imagine. Like, who would, these guys at that sort of level coming up, I got this guy 3-0, 3 knockouts, he wants to fight, and you'd be like, well, I don't know, but Dillian, straight up, yes please, and he gets the win.
100%. It was something that Joshua didn't dwell on at all, and neither did Dillian Whyte. It was something that Johnny Nelson definitely spoke more about, who did an absolute fantastic job, as always, on The Gloves Are Off. Someone who definitely needs to give more credit in that resurgence of Sky. He did such a fantastic job. Dillian Whyte was just really annoyed at the time. He was just really angry. He had a lot of attitude, and it shown. He said there's no way he's going to shake Joshua's hand, which is how it ended. And he refused to. Joshua offers his hand out. Classic. It was the start of the Joshua cringe. You could see it cracking. We have some inside jokes in it. Always go back to day 13 or 15 of the Advent calendar.
14, I think.
14. Anywhere around there to watch our Anthony Joshua cringe video. But Joshua only offers a hand out after Dillian Whyte says no. And he was like, shake my hand. But yeah, straight away they set the mood, didn't they?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Cold line. A very rare cold line from AJ, will I add.
Speaking of AJ.
I was going to say, yeah, not that AJ, Anthony Joshua. Where Dillian's saying, like, your heart is going to fail you. And he just goes, what are you, a doctor? I was like, wow, that's so cold.
It was cold. That's a cold line.
Like I say, a rare cold line from AJ over there.
100%. And then we move on to the weigh-in. The weigh-in was also very heated. Pushing and shoving was tried at. Eddie Hearn was over the moon. You could tell he just knew this was a mega fight, and also a fight that would certify Anthony Joshua's career if he could get the win, which of course he was rooting for.
Yeah.
As for Dillian Whyte, you can see why he was so annoyed, because he came into this fight probably feeling like the most disrespected man in the building, someone who was quite clearly afterthought. We was on maybe one of the biggest hype trains of all time in Anthony Joshua, if you agree.
100%. And Dillian's obviously going in there thinking, look, I don't know what, the disrespect that you're saying is like, I've beaten this guy already before, I'm not scared of this man. Everybody seems to be scared of this guy. He's got this pedigree. We've seen, I go on about all the time. Pedigree doesn't always count. He was generally thinking he was going to go in there and fraud check him, wasn't he? And that was going to be that. We've seen it with David Hay, Audley Harrison, all that sort of thing. It's happened in the past, and he's obviously come in thinking, look, you're not all that. I've seen what you can do. I've beaten you in the past, and like I say, like nobody was giving Dillian much credit for that. I feel like.
Yeah, 100%. That was why Dillian Whyte was so annoyed. By the way, we are on TikTok Live. You can always check us out on TikTok. Just a quick one. We're actually recording on this screen, so the TikTok's there. But yeah, we are talking towards this screen here, the camera. Bit of a behind the scenes. As we were saying though, Dillian Whyte, very hot-headed. It comes to the day of the fight, and we're going to run through the events. Dillian Whyte walks out first, and you could tell he had confidence that no other man had in that building. He was uber confident. He knew he had a chance to go in there. And also, one thing I forgot to mention is he carried on repeating the fact that Joshua hasn't gone after 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And that was Dillian Whyte's selling point. He called rounds 4 to 6 or 4 to 7. And that was when he felt like Joshua would give out, because he's never been past 3. Something that Joshua was actually kind of concerned on about himself, and I think it showed. Joshua also didn't know what happens after 3 rounds.
Oh, of course not.
He's never been there. The
Yeah.
amateurs was obviously only 3 rounds. So it was something that Joshua couldn't say, yeah, I've done it before, because he really didn't seem confident in himself after 3 rounds. Something he knew was untested waters.
Yeah, man, yeah.
So Anthony Joshua then has, in my opinion, this is going to be a long series. We're going to have a lot of fights to talk about, but maybe one of the greatest walkouts in boxing history. Harry, take it away.
At the time, up and coming, I feel like at the time, obviously his hit single "Shut Up," Mr. Stormzy himself walks him out with a little bit of an anti-Joshua remix. He's better than AJ. Shut up.
What a chills moment. At
yeah,
the time.
I know. Yeah. Like I say,
I had the red tracksuit. I will say that.
I wanted the red tracksuit. He used to have like he had like a black and green Adidas jacket and joggers as well. I had the black and green jacket and I couldn't find the joggers around.
He had the dark blue, didn't he? I didn't have the red joggers.
Yeah.
I only had the jacket, but best believe I got it for Christmas.
Yeah, you had
I got it for Christmas at 13 years old. And this was the 12th of December.
Oh, it's like a Stormzy cult, wasn't it?
God, yeah.
Adidas jackets, Adidas tracksuits. They were Stormzy, weren't there? And everybody wanted one of those at one point.
Oh yeah, 100%. So that was the aura we're talking about. Anthony Joshua. Of course, he started having that legendary attire as well with the Anthony line Joshua on his shorts.
Always so clean, weren't they?
Yeah.
They're still are to this day, aren't they?
Yeah, but back then it was something else, wasn't it? It was something
It was a nice red shorts that he wore, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one.
they were clean.
Two amazing attires: Dillian Whyte purple on the red in a matchroom ring. The vibes were insane. But yeah, Anthony Joshua, of course, walks out. The delayed Stormzy song as well when he came out was the best part for me.
Yeah.
It made it a whole lot better. Name a car for an edit. Do you want to name a car? Any car. Beats Polo.
Lamborghini Urus.
Beats Polo, please.
Beats Polo, then.
Yeah, so the whole point of that just really set the mood. And then you had Michael Buffer introing it.
Yeah.
Michael Buffer introing, I'm pretty sure it was Michael Buffer now anyway, but
yeah.
I just remember the lights going down, and at this point, I had no clue what was going to happen. I didn't know who Dillian Whyte was at the time. I knew I loved Anthony Joshua. And then the bell rang. First round, an explosive start. Both of them going after each other. But there was only one part of this round that everyone remembers, and that's right at the end. Anthony of Joshua, of course. The bell goes, lands an extra shot.
Yeah.
Dillian Whyte, completely after the bell, goes for him. And you have about 20 men jumping the ring. What was your emotions at this moment?
Watching it back, it's just pure, like, it's just now you know that it's just classic Dillian Whyte, isn't it? But you know, at the time, it's just absolute shock because, you know, it's funny because he just goes straight for him. Obviously, AJ's there with his tongue out, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's there on the ropes, and the ref's trying to get Dillian away from him, but obviously there's nothing this little ref can do. And he goes in for the biggest windmill I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely launched it, didn't he?
Yeah, and I mean that could have been really bad, you know, if it connected.
Did you know?
Apologies. It would have, you know, that could have been raps almost, like, and it would have just been.
It was haymakers as well.
Yeah. As you can see over here.
You guys can't see it. We've just got the highlights on in the background. I'm going to put a different one on.
But yeah, no, like you say, obviously 20 or so blokes just storm into the ring. I think Big Fraz Clark was there, wasn't he?
Big Fraz Clark was there, yeah,
as security.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Shout out.
We forgot to talk about it. Of course, the O2 Arena as well.
Yeah.
Home of UK boxing.
100%. Yeah.
Something that
I think it's close to Madison Square Garden, you know.
It is, yeah. For British boxing, at least.
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden, you get the world stage, but this is the final stage of a British title, isn't it?
It's the English MSG, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, and also Dillian Whyte's haircut. How legendary!
I know.
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting that back. But yeah, it was an explosive start. Both of them wasn't afraid of standing there and banging, which made the whole thing better.
Dillian looks like what he was trying to do at times was, you know, he was going to always let AJ box a little bit and just catch and counter.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, it's there you go. As we're watching it there, pushes Howard Foster into AJ. Howard Foster's trying to protect AJ with his life, and swings for the absolute fences, and so many man jump into the ring. I don't know who that guy.
Yeah. There's a
that's a slim Fraz Clark, isn't it?
And yet again, Fraz Clark being the peacemaker right there. But yeah, at this point, I obviously, like I said, I will repeat, 13 years old. I didn't know what was going on. I thought the fight was over.
Yeah.
I remember watching this quite distinctly and thought, oh my God, the fight's done. What a shame. And I didn't know what it meant. Is that done? And then Howard Foster starts collecting the scorecards, and it looks like everything calmed down, but you can see Rob McCracken, the team, were telling Joshua, calm down, don't get involved in any of this.
Yeah.
And what an important moment of a young Anthony Joshua's career to be told something like that compared to the way he is now.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously at this time, you've got Tony Sims in the corner, who's one of the most well-respected trainers and still is. And, you know, he's got so many great fighters even now. And, you know, it's a fantastic man to have in your corner.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But everything did end up getting calmed down, and was any points taken off there? No, I think it was just a warning. And then, yeah, we get straight back into the action. As you can tell, Joshua goes straight back onto kind of boxing and picking his shots. Dillian Whyte was quite clear there to get on his chest.
Yeah.
And just cause a bit of an eruption.
Yeah. Dillian would have surely known even before coming into the fact that AJ would have been the better boxer out of the two, and that from the word go, Whyte would have wanted to put it on him, like you said, and swing. So yeah, that would have been the game plan from the start, and he would have obviously looked to, look at that, the body snatcher as well. Go to that chiseled body of AJ's and tire him out and take him into deep waters that has not been in before. Yeah. And he was taken into deep waters at times.
100%. You can see Joshua did land some good long shots in that round, though.
Yeah, and obviously gets rocked as well, AJ.
Yeah, it was a very big... Dillian Whyte was just quite clearly trying to go for the knockout in the second round.
Yeah.
Landing some decent shots. But after 2 rounds, the crowd were just as loud as there was for the first, really, wasn't they? There was not slowing down. They were just wanting to watch. We didn't know what was going to happen. And then we go into the third round. It starts out with Joshua still trying to feel out Dillian Whyte, really. He was keeping the pace on, but Dillian Whyte, similar to the last round, jumping in on them hooks, which was quite interesting. He very much tried to throw them big bombs.
Yeah.
And what do you think was going through Joshua's mind? Do you feel like at that point, I think it was the third round was the start of Joshua figuring out what's coming next?
I think in Joshua's head, I don't think he would have panicked for being rocked at all. In the previous round, this guy's he's an Olympic gold medalist. He's coming in as the favourite. He thinks he knows that he's better than Dillian on the boxing front. I don't think he would have panicked at that point.
Yeah, and Joshua at one point also starts trading to the body with him, so he wasn't scared of. This is something that we know.
That was a nice little combination as well.
Yeah,
to the body.
Joshua's scared of trading these days, and it just showed the young, hungry aspect from both of them. Really, that you have to be in the pocket as well.
Yeah,
and it's something Joshua was not afraid of. He trusted his power, and most importantly, he trusted his skill compared to Dillian Whyte.
100%. Yeah.
And that just reiterates 2 young guys knew they could be looking at maybe a mandatory IBF title next. I think Charles Martin was the next fight after this for Joshua. I'm pretty sure. I think this is his final fight for Charles Martin.
He was either that or Eric Molina.
Oh, it might have been, yeah.
And then it would have been Charles Martin. If it wasn't after this one, it would have been the one after, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, look, if Whyte managed to get the win, I reckon he would have probably beaten Charles Martin as well.
Yeah,
and then we'd have seen a Whyte world champion,
which would have been nice looking back at it. But at the time,
it would have been nice. He was one of my favourite fighters, a couple of years ago. But it's just a shame how it's happening.
Yeah,
obviously pulling out against Joe Joyce,
of course. Yeah,
which is a shame to see the career go downhill.
Yeah, it just shows how different this fight was, but the feeling was different in this one compared to everything else. Again, Joshua was keeping his range for the whole fight, and then we go towards the last round when he lands a straight backhand, and that's where the Joshua onslaught started, didn't it?
Yeah, and like you say, the young, hungry AJ can smell blood, and he goes for the finish straight away. He knows as soon as Dillian's hurt, and he goes straight in for it, and that AJ, it's night if that happens.
Yeah, he starts slugging and throwing shots that he hasn't through the whole fight, which was big uppercuts and left hook combos. And at this point, I feel like Dillian Whyte just didn't have an answer for him. He was trying to throw and move, but Anthony Joshua hunted him down, and it ended with an uppercut that quite clearly sent Dillian Whyte to the stars.
Exactly, yeah, and it's one of those as well. I don't think Dillian had a strength or conditioning coach at all before this fight. I think he just had his boxing, and this was a time where the strength and conditioning in the boxing world is really starting to go up on the rise. People starting to take it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah,
and Dillian had none of that, and absolutely gassed near the end of that fight.
Yeah, and it was something that of course Dillian Whyte was the one questioning Joshua's stamina. And it most importantly ended the other way around.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic finish, and this is where we really thought, right, Joshua was getting through everyone here.
Yeah, exactly.
He just got through the number 1 guy in England.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's coming next for him. It was an absolute shutout from him, really. It was, most importantly, the vibes of the night. We just, as England, I say as England, as a country united, we had just created a megastar.
100%, and he shown everything in that fight. When you think about it, it was like, so he kept his cool head when things went rogue like that, and all that commotion happened. He got rocked, and he come back and he stayed composed, and then he got the finish as well. So he showed the makings of a world champion in that fight.
Yeah, exactly. It's what made the whole thing so special on the night. And as for that, after, both stars only went on to achieve bigger and better things, which was absolutely fantastic. It was a fight that always will sit closely in my heart because it was a night that we created a superstar. It's one of your favourite boxers, one of the greatest entrances ever, and most importantly, it wasn't on a massive Saudi Arabia stage or a Wembley Stadium.
Golden era Sky Sports boxing.
It was, yeah. It was absolutely fantastic. Is there anything else in this fight that you want to say?
Not much. You've pretty much said it all, mate, to be fair. Just like you said, both went on to do great things. We don't need to talk about what AJ did after this fight. At one point, he was up there with one of the greatest heavyweights, potentially. And then, obviously, Dillian got some big names on his record. Joseph Parker, that looks like a massive win nowadays. And Povetkin, obviously. So, yeah, both got some great names on the record. It's, like I said, it's just a shame on what's happened with Dillian Whyte in the last couple of years.
100%. Guys, thank you for joining us. You got to let us know what other fights you want to see on this show.
Yeah.
We're open to all ideas. There's so many fights we can go through. There's a plan. We plan to go through so many more. Please let us know, of course, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, or wherever you get your social media, and check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts from. Again, let us know what you guys think. I've been Jeevan.
I've been Bowles.
And we will see you soon.